2025 was an absolutely stacked year for games in so many respects. One of my greatest disappointments of the year is the fact that I did not get to spend much time playing anything for a variety of reasons. I won't bore you with all the details, but I had an extraordinarily busy work schedule for a period of time following the first major game I played, which was combined with and followed by a time of busy freelance work, and then the last third of the year was occupied with surgery and some other occupations that took priority at the time. I certainly did what I could, but I did not get much played. So the purpose of this video is to talk about the small handful of games that I did play in 2025, plus some of the games I was sad to have missed. On that note, a brief note on the structure of this video. First, I'll begin with the games I played for the first time from favorite to least favorite. The next, I'll follow that up with briefer coverage on the games that I replayed this year. And finally, I'll list the games that I was saddest to not have time for this year. Without further ado, let's head into the first time games with my game of the year, that is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is absolutely no surprise to anybody at all, ever. My obvious game of the year pick is nothing any of you haven't heard already, so I figured why make you wait on the reveal. I wrote a 36-minute long review of this game and feel like I somehow said nothing about it in that time, and I don't want to rip that entire script back over to this video now. Needless to say, Expedition 33 is a special game, and it did me the personal pleasure of truly shattering much of my inherent fear to the RPG genre in a way that I don't think would have ever happened otherwise, save for playing, a substantial volume of them. For that, I am grateful. And more than just the game itself, which is phenomenal, and the writing, which is also phenomenal, the soundtrack managed to break through a personal barrier that I had with OSTs for a while as well. I never really ever wanted to listen to soundtracks at any point in the past, not until I wanted to and did listen to all 8+ hours of what this game has to offer on this front. So now I have been listening to more of those while writing and editing, and just because too. Those are both amazing things about this game. The fact that it broke my fear of RPGs and of just listening to game and also film soundtracks, without actually talking about the game itself. Hopefully that makes this placement work for you without repeating too many talking points that you've heard on everybody else's list. Let me know. But my second favorite game of the year that I played for the first time was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It was a game that I played at the head of the year, not horribly long after it released last December, or rather December 2024, I believe. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is included in this list with its Order of Giants DLC as well. I covered both the base game and the DLC back in September in reviews, the same months I reviewed and ranked all of the Indiana Jones films as well. Truly, it was an indie marathon, and it was a wonderful time. But to start the year with this was exactly the adventure I needed and wanted. I was surprised the first-person POV worked for this title, but it also allowed for the Great Circle to stand out from, ironically, indie-inspired games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider and stuff like that. The writing hit, the performances hit, combat and spelunking hit, everything just hit with this game, and I loved it. If Expedition 33 didn't exist, and even if I did play some of the standouts I know I missed throughout the year, I have a sneaking suspicion this would have come pretty close to being my top game even still. It is great, and my childhood love for the character has scarcely been happier. The DLC is a bit disappointing, especially for its price, but I can't help but be very, very happy we even got this game at all. Number 3 is going to be a little bit of a technicality inclusion here. That's going to be Crowsworn, because I'm talking about the demo here, and it's not a full-length game, but the unique Kickstarter backer demo of the upcoming Metroidvania Crowsworn was given out quite a while ago, and I finally circled back around to it early in 2025, and I had a good time with it. I have my gripes and my concerns about different particular aspects of it, particularly with regard to how it might affect the full release, but I am yet really looking forward to that day. And no, this is not just a Hollow Knight clone. Get over yourselves. Next up, my least favorite game of 2025 was Little Nightmares 3. It's a perfectly serviceable game. Supermassive Games did a pretty good job overall emulating what Tarsier did, with the IP in the first couple of games, but it falls pretty short on many, many fronts. Most importantly, on whatever secret sauce makes Little Nightmares spiritually so much what it is. I don't know how precisely to explain what it is, though I tried to in my recent review of the game, but Little Nightmares 3 is just missing something that might have taken it from "it's okay," and thus disappointing, to "this is great continuation of the franchise." I liked it, but I really wish I liked it more. Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster. It's hard to compare Final Fantasy I to the next couple of games on this list. I'm still ranking this favorite to least favorite as well, like I did in the last one. But since this list isn't really that serious, and since these also have replays, these games are replays, I figured the technical ranking really doesn't matter that much. I just love Final Fantasy I for its simplicity and approachability in the context of JRPGs, even for RPGs more broadly. I had a blast replaying this for a Let's Play in 2025 and surprised myself by how much I remembered from a few years ago. I could see myself returning to this many times over the years on account of said simplicity and the reliability that comes with it, not to mention the fact that it is easily completable in only around a dozen hours if you have that foreknowledge, maybe even less, which is, very easy to justify compared to other JRPGs. Next up, my second favorite replay, I guess, it's all loose and doesn't really matter anyway, is Little Nightmares 2, one of my most special gaming experiences back in 2021 when it first came out. Getting to explore the levels and investigate the lore and story after having composed an entire theory about what this game would be was a very special experience back at that time, not likely to be replicated anywhere else, and I absolutely love it for that. More than that, Little Nightmares 2, which I re-experienced in October on a live stream, it's just a creative and mechanical refinement of what made the first game already so great. Tarsier's work with this IP was something truly special. Speaking of this IP and Tarsier, Little Nightmares 1 is the next item on the list, because it's no less great than is its follow-up. It and its DLC had a very special place in my heart because, to this day, Little Nightmares 2 is the only game I've legitimately theorized about. I fell so much in love with the lore and story and direction of this world and this game after this one game that I just couldn't help it. I doubt something like that will happen again, and re-experiencing it one more time in 2025 was a joy. It helps that the game is great, not just that it helped my theorizing brain do something that it never otherwise would have. Next up will be the worst game that I replayed in 2025. That's Jurassic the Hunted. That's because, I have a ton of nostalgia for this game. I actually high-key really love it, even though it's not very good at all. It's very short as well. It doesn't really have much meat to it, but I've always loved the couple hours of, shooting dinos that Jurassic the Hunted provides. Sometimes you just have to love that one bad video game from your childhood, and this is absolutely that game for me. I love it both ironically and unironically, and if you don't know anything about it, I recommend checking out my 2-part Let's Play of the game that I did, as well as my review. I love this game, even though it's really not great. Also, we do have another honorable mention to talk about in this list, and that is Power Wash Simulator, because it's technically not a replay, because it was just some of the DLC and some other update content that I was playing, so I wasn't replaying anything. But Power Wash Simulator is a game I've spent altogether far too much time in over the past few years. I think my runtime approaches 150 hours at this point, and yet I haven't even finished all of the DLC packs yet. I was actually working on doing that just during March Madness early in the year, and then in a couple episodes over the couple months after that, but it eventually got dropped because of lack of time. But now the sequel is out, and I want to actually complete this one before I switch over to playing that one. But speaking of Power Wash Simulator having a sequel, let's talk about the main 2025 game releases that I really wish I had been able to get to. These are ranked in no particular order for the most part, and we'll try to get through these as quickly as I can manage. So, starting off, we will talk about Power Wash Simulator 2 very briefly, because after loving to chill to the first game so much, I honestly can't wait to do it all over again. Nothing else to say here. Next up, Ghost of Yotei was a game that I intended to live stream. I intended to live stream a replay of Ghost of Tsushima in August or September leading up to this game's release, but I just spent way too much time making videos in that time for the second channel rather than actually testing my streaming. So then when Yotei released, I didn't have time, and then other obligations stole me away from this game specifically. So this will be the first 2025 game that I circle back around to in 2026. More about that in a video to come on Friday, in fact. Next up is Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers. It's kind of funny that I've been better at playing, Souls-likes these last few years than actually playing From Software's output, but Wu-Chang is a title that stuck out to me for some reason about the time that it was coming out. The environment and enemy design and some of the general gameplay mechanics just kind of piqued my interest personally for some reason, a little bit more than most other games in the genre, inexplicably. So I actually intended to play this at release. I bought it, but time got away from me, so I do really wish I'd gotten to this. Next up is Hollow Knight Silksong for obvious reasons. The basically shadow drop release of this was an insane move. I really like Hollow Knight and obviously wanted to play Silksong as well. I would have loved to stream this or something around the time it released, but I couldn't even get to my other plans, let alone throw this in along with it. So I'll likely play this completely on my own time at some point. We shall see. I was really sad to miss the release hype of this one, though. Next up is the first Berserker Kazan, the other acclaimed Souls-like of the year that I am interested in playing because of that. Specifically, the mechanic to continue being able to gain XP even in deaths against bosses and stuff is a super attractive prospect to me, so there's a pretty good chance that I give this one a shot. Shinobi Art of Vengeance is also another game that kind of took me by surprise that I would have liked to circle back around to. I don't play many 2D games as a whole, especially not of this style, but this thing just looks super slick, and playing a shorter game now and again could definitely do me some good. Here's just a handful more rapid fire picks as well. Things like Silent Hill F that I want to play, though I would probably get to Silent Hill 2 Remake before this. Chronos The New Dawn, which looks really great, but I have multiple other survival horror games a little bit higher on my list. Escape from Duckov actually unironically looks really fun. So I would have liked to give this a shot just because, but we'll see if I can ever do that. The Altars I would have liked to play solely for experiencing the writing and Alex Jordan's performance amongst so many different characters here. That would have been great. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is an obvious blind spot. I never played the first game and never really wanted to, but for being able to experience what is by all means considered a very great RPG, I do want to play this game. And then Ball Pit is another random one that I kind of want to try because I'm not immune to addictive gameplay loops like this that are actually good, and considering that this one seems like it has a relatively limited runtime as far as being able to do basically all of the things, I think that that's something that I do want to try out at some point. But that's all of the new 2025 game releases that I was sad to miss, but many of the things that I missed in 2025 that I was sad to were actually remakes and remasters, other things like that. So let's talk about some of those. The main one was Oblivion Remastered, of course, a game that I plan to circle back around to. I haven't played any Elder Scrolls before, but this seemed like the perfect opportunity to try out this classic. Unfortunately, I did not have time for it. Again, I bought it, but I did not have time to play it. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remakes is one that I really want to get to. I've been working my way through a little bit of Final Fantasy, and there are several other JRPG series that I want to try. Dragon Quest predating even Final Fantasy inherently puts it on my radar. This will be a fantastic way to experience those old games as well. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster is another set of releases that I missed in 2025 that I would have liked to try. This is one of those other JRPGs that I do want to give a shot, and with these remasters, again, seems like a pretty great opportunity to do so. Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, is an obvious one that I'm going to have to play at some point, because I do want to play all the Final Fantasy games. I don't care about many of the spin-offs, but this is one of the spin-offs that people swear by for obvious reasons, so I do want to give it a shot. I do wish that I had been able to. Continuing along JRPGs and stuff, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition getting its Switch release. I haven't even finished playing the first game yet, and I will likely end up playing all 3 of the main games before I circle back around to this one, but I definitely want to circle back around to Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm just really glad that this actually got a Switch edition, considering that, you know, the other 3 are available on Switch now, so that's very nice. And finally, just a handful more rapid-fire picks, kind of like we did last time. Tears of the Kingdom getting a Switch 2 edition means that I want to actually circle back around to and finish this, because I did not finish it in 2023, and being able to do so on the Switch 2 would be great. I haven't even bought a Switch 2 yet, actually, funny enough, but I would like to do this. Trails in the Sky First Chapter was one that was brought up to my attention. I didn't even know this existed until recently, but it looks pretty great. Yet another JRPG series that I now would like to give a shot. And Days Gone Remastered is just kind of a random out there pick, because I've been wanting to play Days Gone for a little while now. The fact that it had a remaster, I guess, whether or not you agree with it getting a remaster, I do want to give this a shot at some point. And kind of on the same note, as one last random little thing, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered got an update that gave it a chronological mode, and given that my review of this game that I've been trying to work on actually calls out the chronology of the title as one of its major flaws, I am now obligated to play this again in the chronological mode so that I can actually talk about that appropriately in the review. So that's kind of funny. You know, this isn't... It is a game, because I played all of this, like, not even that much more than a year ago. Like, I don't necessarily don't want to replay this, but the fact that I have to is just a little bit funny. So in either case, that is all for this video. That's all the stuff that I missed, all the stuff that I did play, everything basically related to my gaming for 2025. But that is going to be the end of this video. Let me know what your favorite games of 2025 were, what some games you're looking forward to in 2026 are, what games from the year that you regret missing or not having time for. Let me know all of that in the comments below. For now, I've been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.